Peyton, through 8 games, I think you only have 3 picks on the year. How have you been able to avoid mistakes this season, better than in seasons past?
I think the first thing is experience, and I've been around, I've played, I've had the opportunity to see what when defenses are mixing it up and throwing change-ups at us. And then I think another thing is Coach DeBoer and just the situations that he puts me in, that he puts us in as quarterbacks. There's always a check down guy. There's always guys getting open and making my life a lot easier.
Following up about Coach DeBoer, and Mike talked about this too when we talked to him, obviously, when he was healthy earlier in the season, but just where do you think he has helped you grow the most in the last year, give or take, that you've worked with him?
I would say, on that same note, I would say in the decision-making process, he simplifies things so much, and he makes it easier and quicker to go through progressions. When you're able to identify things pre-snap, and I would say also during the week, but when you're able to identify things pre-snap because you're so prepared and you're so locked in, that's a credit to how he teaches us throughout the week and what we're able to do on Saturdays when guys are running wide open.
As a follow-up to that, is how have you seen yourself as a quarterback develop from when you first got here to where you are now?
I would say, just being other than being a more well-rounded leader, the intangible things, I would say the tangible things, just completely, trusting my progressions, trusting my reads, going completely through it. If the first guy's not open, that's fine. The second guy might be, the third guy might be, and trusting that those guys are going to win, trusting the guys up front. And like I said, that comes with experience and that comes with time.
Simon mentioned, some goals are still on the table, including beating a top 25 team. How much do you think you and the team view this Saturday as another opportunity against a high-profile opponent, especially after, coming close last week?
Sure, that's exactly what it is. It's another opportunity, and it's our next game, just another opportunity to go out, especially for these seniors. Senior day, the last time that they're going to play on that field. So, it's one of our season goals ahead of us, but it's also just another chance to go play, to go compete, and kind of go show what we're capable of doing.
Not a game question per se, but you had the opportunity to play against the quarterback, Clifford, in high school this past weekend. The night before, didn't your brothers play against each other in the same situation? How special is that for you as a brother and just a family?
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, it's something that I grew up around my whole life, was watching my dad coach, and my older brother went through it, got the opportunity to play for my dad. I did, and now my younger brother. To play in a big-time special rivalry game like that in high school was, something as a kid that we all looked, so forward to doing. And he had the opportunity to do it and win the night before we played Penn State. And I'm sure it's the same for Sean and his younger brother. So it was a really cool thing.
Peyton, you mentioned earlier about your growth with first and second and third reads and such. But you tell me a little bit about what's different with Coach DeBoer's offense, where the same with the receivers, because it seems like all of them are always running their routes to the fullest, whether they know they're going to get the ball or not.
And I think that's a point of emphasis. The small, minute details of just doing the small things, even if you're not going to get the ball, running the route to clear somebody out and help out one of your guys. We have so many talented guys, and they're also grown up and a year older now as well. So they kind of understand the game more, that, hey, I might not get the ball here, but somebody else might, and it might be a big play. So that's something that Coach DeBoer has emphasized to all of us, not just receivers. You've seen running backs doing it. You've seen, offensive linemen finishing their blocks all the way to the whistle. And even the same thing on defense with guys running to the ball. So the effort's definitely there, and it's something that has been a point of emphasis for sure.
This will be the last home game for Donovan, Hale, and Nick Westbrook. What have those guys meant to you? And who are the young guys that might be able to fill that kind of big receiver role that might be freshmen or so forth? Yeah,
I mean, those two guys, Nick and Donovan, have been huge in my development and growth as a quarterback. I owe those two guys a whole lot just because of how easy they've made my life. But young guys, I think you saw David Ellis step up. Miles Marshall's a guy who's continued to get better. Ty, not necessarily a super young guy, but those guys, really, really good players. They're really starting to understand Coach DeBoer's offense and just the small things of how you get better and how you prepare every single week. So I'm excited for what those guys are doing and what they have the ability to do in the future.
You brought David Ellis up there. I think we asked about him on Saturday, but as you break down film yesterday, just what do you feel like he did well? And if you do need to lean on him more this week, next week, depending on Wap's status, just how much do you feel like you can put on him compared to maybe a more experienced guy like Wap?
I think we can put a lot on him. He's been in a whole bunch of different spots this year, just with personnel, because we're so high on what he is able to do. And after watching the game, he didn't really miss a beat. We didn't miss a beat. He did a really good job of. One thing that has been a focus for him is the small details and just alignment and technique. And he really cleaned that up from, where he was in the beginning of the year to where he was against Penn State. And, we're confident, we're excited for what he's able to do, if we're going to need him a whole bunch this weekend.
The 2 games that you played against Michigan, they've kind of played passing defense pretty well against you guys. Is that something you recognize? And if it is, what does Michigan kind of do that kind of throws a wrench into what you guys are trying to do?
I just think they're really talented. They have really, really talented guys in the secondary, and they have a lot of trust and a lot of faith in those guys that they're going to be able to lock guys down in man coverage. And on the same token, they're good pass rushers. They do a lot of different things up front, so they force you to get the ball out of your hands quicker than sometimes you may like to. And they have those guys that are able to cover. So, we'll find ways this week to hopefully be able to protect and hopefully ways to get open throughout the course of the week.
So we found out about this last week, but the captainship, does it mean anything to you on the field to have that title officially? And, of all the things that have happened this season, what did that mean to you?
Yeah, really, really special. Something that it does mean a lot to me, because it kind of just signifies the fact that coaches, teammates, everybody involved with Indiana football has faith, has belief in me, and it's bigger than football. Just as a person, as a man, that people look up to me, that they listen when I talk, and it was really special. It was something that when Coach Allen told me, it was a really, really good feeling.